Hi there, my name's Sarah Joyner. I'm a licensed social worker in Austin, Texas, and I also practice as a therapist. Today I'm going to teach you guys some simple at-home ways to practice mindfulness and also practice some experimenting. The first mindfulness activity that we're going to do is blowing bubbles. Blowing bubbles mimics deep breathing and is a great practice for children to learn how to be mindful and to focus on regulating their breathing and regulating their emotions. Today we're going to be making our bubbles with materials that you can find in a home or at your local grocery store. Today I'm using my HEB soap, a little bit of water, some slotted utensils, and you want a flat laying dish. So what you're going to do is you're going to combine your ingredients, a few drops of each, and take the water. And then you want to mix it around. And then you can take your slotted spoon, whichever one. It's always fun to experiment with the kids. First, I'm going to try it with the spatula. And as you're doing this, encourage the children to take note of what do the bubbles smell like, and then how big can they blow a bubble, encouraging them to take those deep, slow breaths. So here we go, first try. Let's try it with our noodle strainer next. And as you can see, those bubbles got pretty big. What you want to ask the kids to do when they're blowing bubbles is to notice how big the bubbles get, what they smell like, how long does it take to pop. Just being really present in the moment and engaged in the activity will help the kiddos regulate their emotions, especially if they're big worriers or if they've had some type of emotional outburst. This is a great way to regulate and to be present. The second mindfulness activity that I'm going to share with you today is some gentle stretching. Gentle stretching can be used at any time of day. It can be used before bedtime, before a test that a kid might have a lot of anxiety about, an emotional outburst, or needing to learn how to do some emotional regulation. Stretching is great for that because it's active and it's engaging with our body. You can also use stretching when you wake up in the morning and including some positive affirmations to get the day started. Gentle stretching can be done standing up or in a chair. For recording purposes, I'm going to be demonstrating my gentle stretching in a chair. So the first stretch that we're going to do is reach for the stars. Reach up high and really engage our body, allowing any tension that we feel to release. You can even shake your hands a little bit. And we want to reach out like we're going to give somebody a big hug. Pulling one arm across our body and gently tugging, getting some more of that tension out and releasing any anxieties or worries that we have. Switch over to the next arm. Feels so good. And then we're going to do some shoulder rolls. And then I want you to take a deep breath in. And then when you exhale, reach for the stars. That's a great way to engage your body and teach your kiddos how to participate in active emotional regulation and encouraging them to stay present and mindful in the moment. Thanks again, guys, and I hope that you enjoyed these mindfulness tips and the fun little experiment to do with your kiddos at home. Have a great day, stay safe, and remember, staying mindful is the key to staying present.
Hi there, my name is Jocelyn Camera Barrera. I'm the program manager at the Christi Center. The Christi Center is a grief support center here in Central Texas that offers peer-based support groups for people who have experienced the death of a close family member or friend. All of our services are free and ongoing. We also offer individual services for kiddos ages 5 to about 12 for those who have had some significant loss in their lives. We partner with AISD to be able to provide some services in schools as well. We're really excited that we've been providing virtual services through the pandemic, but soon we'll be back in person. And so more to come with that. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to visit our website. But currently we are all still virtual and soon to be in person as the stages stay on target. But a little bit about what we do here, both in individual support and peer groups, is that we help people connect to others after a loss. And here at the Christi Center, it's specifically a death loss, but we recognize that a lot of grief comes from a loss and any type of loss that happens in our lives. And so to me, grief is really the emotions and things that happen after we lose something that we have known for a long time or even for a little bit of time. And so that could be the loss of a person, or it could be the loss of our normalcy, like what we saw with the pandemic of what going to school, that's not happening anymore, or school looks a little bit different, or the loss of maybe not being able to having to move, or the loss of our favorite teacher, they had to leave, or we had to shift classrooms. And so a lot of what happens is we have something that changes in our lives and we feel that loss, and those are the emotions that come with our loss and our grief. And so part of it is being able to understand what those emotions are. So naming that, like, wow, I feel really angry or really sad or really frustrated, and finding ways to be able to deal with those emotions and cope with them. And so maybe finding a way to deal with the sadness, and that might be writing, it might be talking to someone, it might be going for a run, it could be any type of physical exercise, something that feels good to us, and be able to handle those emotions, and then also being able to adjust. So, okay, I can't do this anymore with my friend, but I can still write them letters, even though I can't see them anymore, or I don't get to play with them anymore. And finding ways to be able to connect with that whatever the thing is that we lost, or the person that we lost. And even though it's gonna not feel great a lot of the times, or feel awful or really sad, it's continuing to keep that relationship or that bond alive in order to can have them in our lives for the rest of our lives. And so that's a lot of what we do here. Part of really normalizing that we all go through loss, and whether that's the loss of a person, again, like I said, a lot different types of losses that we experience, and helping just normalize. We all go through this. It might feel really alone and isolating, but we can find ways to process what you're feeling and find ways to continue that relationship or that bond. And so something that we did during the pandemic, because we couldn't get together, was these grief at home kits. And so in the grief at home kit, these were kits that have some activities and supplies for families to do with them within their family or their chosen family. And so that they can kind of replicate what we do at the Christi Center at home. And so a lot of these supplies were really easy to, markers and crayons and things that you probably already have at home. And then other things that didn't require any supplies. It was just going outside and finding some stuff. And so two of the activities that I really want to highlight are on our website. And I'm going to click through them as I'm talking. But it's all on our website. So feel free to peruse it. You can download the activities and try them for yourselves. Like I said, if you're just noticing some changes because, oh, mom and dad are separated now, or we had to move, or mom has a different job now, so life looks a little bit different. So if you're going through anything like that and you see your child just really struggling with that adjustment, maybe some of these activities would translate for you and your family to work on together to be able to process some of that. The first one is mindfulness scavenger hunt. This is a really fun activity to do with your family. Just go outside and find some stuff, like something that's crunchy, something that's really a different color, like a brown color, something that's a red color. This is really fun to do with kids that just, I don't know, my kid picks up all the stuff and wants to show me, like, Mom, look, I found a worm. Mom, I found a stick. So it could be like, find something long, find something pointy, find some, like an animal or an insect, and just bringing attention to what's going on right now, paying attention to each other and being in the moment with each other kind of helps everybody just come together. And so that's a really great activity to do. Nothing really needed, really, really fun just to connect and be with each other.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Christi Center's Grief at Home Kit instructional video. I will be walking you through an activity so that you and your family can participate at the comfort of your own home. The activity I will be going over is Mindfulness Scavenger Hunt. Mindfulness means paying full attention to something. It means slowing down to really notice what you are doing. Being mindful is the opposite of rushing or multitasking. When you are mindful, you take your time. Mindfulness helps us to calm down and allows our brain to make good choices. The purpose of the Mindfulness Scavenger Hunt is to address Warden's third task of mourning, to adjust to an environment in which the deceased is missing, to identify and practice healthy ways to cope, to encourage self-care, compassion, and nurturance, and to normalize and validate the changes in stress during grief. Okay, go ahead and get out your grief kit bag, and you will need the brown paper bag that's inside, writing utensils, the scavenger hunt prompts and handout in order to complete this activity. Let's jump into the actual activity. After giving a brief explanation of what mindfulness is, you will then encourage your kid to become more mindful in their grief journey. This mindfulness scavenger hunt is to help decrease anxiety, improve your concentration and focus in your life. If you are doing this activity inside, look within the room. Have your kid collect a crayon, a pencil, and a book. Once they have completed this task, ask them to try and find something that brings you joy, something that makes you sad, something that makes you laugh, and something that brings you peace. Further exploration and discussion can follow. If this activity is done outside, ask your kid to collect things such as acorns, feathers, flowers, grass, leaves, rocks, and small sticks. Also, encourage them to find things such as animal tracks, ants, bird's nest, butterfly, or a squirrel. This activity is meant to be fun and for them to stop to take one thing in at a time and enjoy the moment. So now it's time to process. Some helpful questions that can stimulate conversation are to ask, what was this like for you? What is something you learned by this activity? And how was this helpful? Practicing mindfulness takes time. If you really want to learn how to be more mindful, try this activity with your family as well. Ocean breathing. So for this activity, you sit in a comfortable position, ask everyone to slowly breathe in through their nose and then out through pursed lips as if they were blowing through a straw. Point out that the slow and steady breathing sounds like the ocean waves gently crashing on the shore. Try this for 1 to 2 minutes together. The feelings exercise. Collect a number of interesting objects such as feathers, stones, Play-Doh. Give your kid an object and ask them to spend 1 minute noticing what it feels like in their hands. They can feel the texture. Is it hard, soft? What's the shape? Then ask your kid to describe what it feels like. Mindful coloring and mindful walking are also very easy to implement. I hope you and your family enjoy these activities.
Other favorite ones is the Wheel of Coping Skills, and that's another one that's on here on our website. And the Wheel of Coping Skills is one where it's tailored to each individual person, and you get to pick what, helps you regulate, what kind of brings you back to stasis, kind of regulate and be able to do what you've got to do for the rest of the day. And so picking activities from a list, there's a list that you could pick from, right? So like blowing bubbles or taking a walk or reading a book or listening to music. But it's really up to you and whatever you feel works best for you. And so that could be like, I need to, take out some aggression on a pillow, or it could be that, when I'm feeling really sad, I just go to and take a bubble bath if that's possible. But you can't really do that at school. So finding things that you could do both at school and at home, or even like when you're out at, in a big, like things that, like when you're shopping, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. So what can I do in the moment? And that could be like just taking some deep breaths. And so thinking about all of those things together and sharing that with each other. So, like, okay, when I'm feeling really stressed, what can I do? Maybe I'm not thinking, but dad remembers like, oh yeah, let's go to the car and let's blow some bubbles or listen to music.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Christi Center's Grief at Home Kit instructional video. I will be walking you through an activity so that you and your family can participate at the comfort of your own home. The activity I will be going over is the Wheel of Coping Skills. The purpose of the Wheel of Coping Skills is to address Warden's third task of mourning, to adjust to an environment in which the deceased is missing, to recognize and name tools for strengths and resilience, and to encourage compassion, self-care, and nurturance. Go ahead and grab your grief kit bags. Inside you will find the paper plates that are already made into a wheel for you. You will also need markers, colored pencils, and the list of coping skills. Go ahead and grab your paper plate. You will see that the wheel has already been made for you. Next, write your coping skills inside the exposed triangle. Keep moving the front plate so that you can continue to write new coping skills. Once you are finished writing all of your coping skills on the coping wheel, then feel free to decorate the front and the back of your wheel. Remember, this is yours, so decorate it as you wish. Then you're all set. Okay, it's time to process. Allow open discussion of ways people care for themselves. For instance, ask, what is self-care? How do we know when we need it? Also ask your kid what coping skills they would like to try in the future. And for older kids, you can dig deeper and ask, what happens if we don't care for ourselves? Or, what are some negative ways that we cope? Remember, there are no wrong answers and everyone copes differently.
Like I said, this is really helpful, for all families who've had any type of loss. Like I said, ours is specific to death loss. And if that's something that you've gone through and you notice that you and your family are struggling with, feel free to reach out to us. But really adjusting this for like my kid is really struggling with going back to school after the pandemic, or with my new schedule or a new routine or our new apartment. A lot of changes in our lives cause a lot of this these grief emotions. And so being able to help kids name that and process that, and then find ways to work on that together are really, really important. And I'm really hopeful that you'll take this and share it or utilize it for yourselves. And thank you for having me. I hope you enjoy. And if there's anything else, just feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is AJ Inglis and I am a licensed master's level social worker and a therapist at Calm Counseling in Austin. At Calm Counseling, we work with adults and adolescents with a variety of mental health and substance use challenges and concerns. And today I figured I would share just a fun activity that you could do by yourself or with you and your child together to really help us to get a better idea of what our strengths and coping skills are to deal with times of uncertainty. I know so many of us have dealt with so much uncertainty over the past 2 years, and sometimes it can be hard to really tap into what we find to be helpful or kind of what makes us so resilient. And so I just find that this is a really easy, accessible activity to help to kind of clarify that for yourself or help you and your child kind of brainstorm those things together. And really you only need a couple of different things in order to do the activity. To gather some of those supplies, all you'll need is a blank piece of paper. I have this kind of yellow just piece of construction paper here. Any kind of crayons, art supplies, so markers, crayons, colored pencils, all of those work just fine, and just some time. That's all you'll need. So again, this activity is really about kind of figuring out what your coping skills are and what some of your strengths are. And so a good way to kind of start to brainstorm those things for yourself or with your child are to think about times where you or your child needed to be really brave. Obviously, we have a lot of situations in which we've all had to be really brave over the past couple of years, but to really think of some really specific scenarios, like you might talk to your child about, that time that you went to the doctor and you had to get some shots and that was really scary. So what was some of your strengths that you used during that time? Were you brave? Did you bring along your stuffed animal with you to kind of soothe you and to keep you happy? Kind of think through kind of that specific situation and what they did specifically to get through it. And then you can do that for yourself too. If there have been certain situations that were challenging for you, what did you find helpful in terms of kind of getting you through that situation, both internal strengths and then sometimes outside things as well. So that can be things like, other people, other kinds of coping strategies that you've used before, things like journaling or deep breathing or calling a friend. And then again, some of those more kind of inner strength things that we have, like courage, resilience, bravery. It could even be your sense of optimism, right? That can be a huge strength. So I'll just kind of start to walk you through the activity, and really it's about creating kind of a resilience tree. And so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put your arm and your hand down on a piece of paper like this, and you're going to trace it so that the fingers are open, just like this. So you and your child can both do this. Trace the base of your hand and your arm here, just leaving the fingers open. And then what we're going to start to do, and I'll kind of do it with you, is start to draw some branches off of the fingertip area. So I'll just do that real quick. And as you're kind of tracing and kind of drawing in these branches, again, could be a good time to start thinking through some of those strategies or kind of brainstorming together some of those situations in which you were brave or resilient. Okay, so it's going to kind of look like this, where you're going to draw some of those branches coming off the tree. And then off of each of those branches, you're going to draw leaves. So we want the leaves to be big enough that you can write something in the leaves, either like a couple words or a short sentence. So we want them to be, I'm probably making mine too small, but I'll show you. So we want it to kind of look like this, some of the branches or some of the leaves off the tree branches like that. And so this is where you're going to start to fill in some of your ideas of resilience or coping skills that you've used. So for myself, when I think about what's kind of gotten me through really difficult situations, one of the things that's been really helpful has been calling friends and relying upon my friends. So I might put in one of my leaves, call friends. When I think through, see, it's kind of hard for me to even think through what some of these things might be. Let me think for a second. You know, cooking is something that really helps me get through difficult times too. It's something I can really focus on. I feel really accomplished after doing it. And then I have something enjoyable to share with my family too. So I'm gonna put cooking down on there too. And then maybe my last one I'll put down will be, I'm an optimist, so I always see the good in every situation, where I try to, and I do feel like that's something that helps me to make it to the other side of difficult life situations. So I'm going to put optimism on here. Maybe don't use this, I'm using a very thick crayon, so it's kind of hard to write, but you can kind of see I'm just kind of writing some of these things in on these different leaves. And I'll kind of eventually go through and add in more. And then you can also, you know, I definitely encourage you to color in your tree, create a background, all of that. And then once you're done with your trees, I would say leave it in a spot that is really easily accessible for you and your family, maybe on the fridge or on maybe the wall in your child's room. And so if they're going through a certain situation or a challenging day, or the world just feels really heavy, which I know it really can feel really heavy right now, it's a good time to pull out your tree and kind of take a look at, you know, what is maybe a concrete thing that I can do, you know, right now in this moment to make myself feel better. Or, you know, maybe just to remind myself of all these different inner strengths that I have that are going to help me to make it through this moment, even when maybe it feels really hard to get through this moment. Just recognizing that you do have a lot of inner strength that has carried you through other difficult situations. And so I just think this is such a great activity. It's really easy, something for you and your family to do together on family night, and to kind of encourage each other to recognize the strengths that we all have. So I think that's about it for my activity. I'm so glad I got to share this time with you. Again, if you're interested in seeking out any kind of mental health services for you or your family, we work with individuals, adolescents, we work with couples, families, so many types of folks. So please feel free to reach out if you feel like our services could be helpful for you. And I hope that you found some value in this activity. Thank you so much.